On a cold February night in 2022, 22-year-old Mia Stevn went out to celebrate with friends in Aalborg, Denmark. It was the first weekend after COVID-19 restrictions had lifted, and people were eager to socialize again after months of isolation. Mia, a nursing student at Aalborg University, had just completed her semester exams. She had her whole life ahead of her. Dreams of helping others as a nurse, aspirations in modeling, and a bright future full of promise. Tragically, Mia never made it home that night. Her disappearance and the horrific details that later emerged shocked Denmark and made international headlines. The case highlighted how, even in one of the safest countries in the world, evil can lurk in unexpected places. Mia was found in 231 pieces 1 week after her disappearance, and her killer calmly told the judge he had to order a pizza halfway through the process of dismembering her, as that's tiring work. This is Mia Stevn's infuriating story. Watch on, but be prepared to feel angry by the end of this video. On Saturday, February 5th, 2022, Mia dressed up to go out with friends, wearing dark clothes and black and white sneakers. The group spent the evening going between different bars and clubs in Aalborg. According to friends, Mia was in high spirits, dancing and enjoying this newfound freedom after lockdown. Around 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, as the clubs were closing, Mia's friends noticed she seemed intoxicated. They offered her a ride home, but she declined, saying that she would take the bus. Security camera footage would later show Mia standing alone at a bus stop at 6:09 a.m., just 300 meters from the nightclub. What happened in those early morning hours remains unclear, but at 7:35 a.m., nearly 90 minutes after arriving at the bus stop, cameras captured Mia getting into a dark-colored car. She was never seen alive again. Mia was born on September 19th, 1999. That's how young she was when she disappeared. She had barely had time to complete her nursing degree at the University of Applied Sciences Aalborg and start aspiring toward a career in both nursing and modeling. She was close to her parents, and they often spent their free time together hiking, listening to music, or talking about their various thoughts and dreams. Mia had completed her degree during the pandemic lockdown, so unlike many of us, she missed out on the social aspect of college. When the pandemic restrictions were finally lifted in the winter of 2022, she was over the moon. She could not wait to celebrate with her best buddies. But the first time she went partying after lockdown, she disappeared. When Mia failed to return home or answer calls on Sunday, her family grew worried. Initially, they called her boyfriend, but he hadn't heard from her all day. He just assumed she'd come back home after her night out with friends. Now he was worried too. By Monday, with still no word from Mia, her mother contacted police to report her missing. Law enforcement immediately launched an investigation, reviewing security footage and interviewing Mia's friends about her last known whereabouts. The community rallied around the search efforts. Mia's family and friends posted her photo and description on social media, desperately seeking any information. Hundreds of local residents called in tips and provided video footage from the North Denmark area. The disappearance of a young woman was highly unusual for Aalborg, a city known for its safety, and the case gripped public attention. For days, detectives combed through hours of security camera footage and cell phone videos from that night. Finally, they identified the crucial but worrying images of Mia getting into a black Volkswagen Golf early Sunday morning. Mia was waiting for the bus when the Golf pulled up beside her. She did not hail the car. The driver offered her a ride home. Intoxicated, tired, and cold, she accepted. She put her trust in a stranger, which in most parts of the world is a perfectly normal thing to do, except she was unlucky in the worst possible way. Thankfully, the distinctive bi-colored license plate allowed investigators to trace the Golf to its owner. On February 9th, just 4 days after Mia went missing, police arrested 2 men in connection with the case. Both had a history of petty crime, including impersonating police officers at a soccer game. One was quickly released, but the other, 36-year-old electrician Thomas Thompson, was detained. The following day, February 10th, brought the tragic news no one wanted to hear. Using specially trained dogs, detectives discovered human remains in a wooded area outside Aalborg. DNA testing would soon soon confirm it was Mia. But the gruesome details that emerged were beyond anyone's fears. Mia's body had been dismembered into 231 separate pieces, scattered across forest floor. Some parts were buried in shallow graves, and others were never recovered. The brutality of the crime stunned Denmark. How could something so horrific happen in one of the world's safest countries? And who was the man allegedly responsible for this unthinkable act? Mia's horrific case was about to get even more sickening, and Thomas Thomsen would be revealed as one of Denmark's most depraved monsters. As the investigation unfolded, a horrifying picture began to emerge of Mia's final hours. GPS data from Thompson's car, which he had attempted to disable, allowed police to reconstruct his movements that night. Prosecutors believe Thompson had been prowling the streets looking for a victim. He approached Mia at the bus stop once, but drove away when she refused the ride. An hour and a half later, with Mia still waiting in the cold, he returned. This time, the exhausted young woman accepted. Instead of taking Mia home, Thompson drove to a wooded area outside of the city. GPS showed the car stopping multiple times, and prosecutors argued this indicated Mia tried to escape, with Thompson chasing her down each time. What exactly transpired in those woods may never be known. However, forensic evidence pointed to a violent struggle, ending in Mia's SA and death by strangulation. In the days that followed, Thompson engaged in an elaborate cover-up attempt. He kept Mia's body at his home, using chemicals to try to dissolve it. When that failed, he dismembered the remains with an electric saw. Others, he cut with kitchen knives and scissors. He scattered some parts in the forest and buried and even flushed others down the toilet, burning Mia's clothes and his to destroy evidence. All the while, Thompson went about his daily life, even ordering pizza delivery while in the midst of this gruesome activity. He simply explained to the judge that sawing a person in several tiny pieces is hungry work.
The dismemberment took many hours. I got myself a pizza, but I couldn't eat anything.
His apparent lack of remorse or horror at his own actions speaks to a disturbing disconnect from normal human emotion. When first questioned by the police, Thompson admitted to giving Mia a ride, but claimed her death was accidental. He said she had been flirtatious and agreed to go for a drive, but then suffered some kind of attack and fell, fatally injuring herself. I asked her if she wanted to see something great. She wanted that. She wanted to see men in uniform, so I took her to a forest by Hammerbacher. I trained here myself as a soldier. She was flirting heavily. His story changed multiple times during the investigation, and at one point, he claimed Mia had accidentally strangled herself with her handbag strap. Later, he said she had tried to run away, tripped, and died from the fall. Thompson insisted he had panicked after Mia's supposed accidental death and made the ill-advised decision to dispose of her body rather than call for help. He admitted to dismembering and hiding the remains, but denied intentionally killing Mia. These explanations rang hollow to investigators and prosecutors. The evidence of a violent assault was clear. Thompson's elaborate efforts to conceal the crime hardly seemed like the actions of someone dealing with an accident. Most damning was the fact that Thompson, despite his military first aid training, made no attempt to help Mia or summon medical assistance. Instead, he immediately set about destroying evidence in a calculated manner. However, when prosecutor Matt Bendix asked him why he never phoned authorities, he said, "I felt like I had everything under control." Yeah, taking an unconscious person home and cutting her into 231 pieces is the recommended course of action. Thomas Thomsen, then 36, worked as an electrician and lived just a few blocks from the nightclub where Mia was last seen. He was born on June 18, 1985, in a different part of Denmark, moving to a small Danish town near Aalborg as a young man. There is no known history of neglect, abuse, or poverty in his family. On the surface, Thomsen did not fit the stereotypical profile of a violent criminal. He was described by some as polite and pleasant, if somewhat introverted. He had served in the military, rising to the rank of sergeant, and even had first aid training. But a darker side emerged as investigators dug into Thompson's past. There were troubling incidents of voyeurism, including peeping into women's windows. Ex-girlfriends described controlling and manipulative behavior, and and one woman claimed he had once tied her up against her will. Most chillingly, co-workers told of Thompson's fascination with videos of real-life murders. Even then, they had found his interest disturbing and abnormal. However, this is not the kind of crime people report to the local authorities. They just figured this was one bit of a weirdo. If only they knew how seriously he meant that he enjoyed watching murders. A psychiatric evaluation would later find Thompson exhibiting narcissistic and antisocial personality traits, as well as a lack of empathy. However, he was deemed mentally fit to stand trial. You guys, narcissistic and antisocial personality traits are concerning characteristics that can indicate a potentially dangerous individual. Narcissistic personality traits often include a grandiose sense of self-importance and a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, or brilliance. Individuals with these traits typically believe in their own uniqueness and superiority, coupled with a need for excessive admiration. They often display a sense of entitlement and engage in manipulation. A notable lack of empathy is also common, as is envy of others, or the belief that others are envious of them. Antisocial personality traits, on the other hand, are characterized by a disregard for right and wrong, persistent lying or deceit to exploit others, and a general callousness, cynicism, and disrespect for others. Individuals with these traits may use charm or wit to manipulate those around them, and often display arrogance and a sense of superiority. They frequently have recurring problems with the law and repeatedly violate the rights of others. A lack of remorse for their actions is typical, as is impulsiveness or failure to plan ahead. Hostility, irritability, and aggressiveness are also common traits. APD or narcissism psychology experts like Dr. Ramani often suggest we do our best to stay away from these types of people, as they are the least likely to change for the better or to find enough empathy to stop hurting us. In Thompson's case, these traits manifested in several ways. He showed a profound lack of empathy, displaying no remorse for his actions and seeming disconnected from the horror of what he had done. His repeated changes to his story demonstrated manipulation, as he tried to shape the narrative to his advantage. His behavior suggested an arrogant belief that he could outsmart others and escape the consequences of his crime. The brutality of his actions showed a complete disregard for human life, while descriptions of him as polite and pleasant by some suggested he could be charming when it suited him. While it's important not to stigmatize mental health issues, it's equally crucial to prioritize personal safety. If you encounter someone displaying multiple narcissistic or antisocial traits, especially in combination with aggressive or manipulative behavior, it's wise to maintain strong boundaries and limit your interactions with them. Trust your instincts. If someone makes you feel unsafe, don't hesitate to seek help or remove yourself from potentially dangerous situations. Remember, people with these traits may not always commit violent crimes, but their behavior can still be harmful in personal relationships, workplaces, and other social settings. Being aware of these traits can help you protect yourself and others from potential emotional, psychological, or physical harm. Thomas Thompson's trial began in May 2023. Prosecutors laid out the evidence of premeditated murder, arguing Thompson had been hunting for a victim that night and deliberately lured Mia to her death. They emphasized the extreme brutality of the crime and Thompson's apparent lack of remorse. In June, this man testified. He was the coroner who examined what was left of Mia's body. Now, being a coroner is tough work, no matter the case, but imagine having to work with partially dissolved, heavily dismembered, tiny bits and pieces in various stages of decomposition. It's hard to reproduce what the coroner told the judge. His statement has not been made public. What's clear is he explained Mia was most likely SA'd and suffocated that fateful night. And one can only imagine the way the details of how she was found reverberated in the courtroom. What can the defense say to undo this? The defense attorneys maintained Mia's death was accidental, arguing for a lesser charge of improper handling of a body. They sought a 16-year sentence rather than life imprisonment. Thompson himself continued to deny murdering Mia, agreeing only that she had improperly disposed of her remains. He showed no emotion or regret throughout the proceedings. Something else was revealed in court before taking Mia's life that night. Thompson spent his evening watching porn with very young women. Thompson also told the court, as long as there's Pornhub on the internet, I don't need a girlfriend. You guys, I am speechless. How does this man think he can get away with a lesser charge when he demonstrates the worst types of evil with everything he says? After hearing all the evidence in June 2023, the court found Thomas Thompson guilty of murdering Mia Stevn. He was sentenced to indefinite detention due to the danger he posed to society. The council's forensic expert stated he is domineering, manipulative, and not reflective in relation to guilt. There is a high risk of repetition of violence and crimes of immorality. While eligible for parole after 10 years, given the nature of his crime and his lack of remorse, Thompson will likely spend much longer behind bars. As you might imagine, Mia's family will forever work to ensure this monster never walks the streets again. Mia's mother wrote on her social media, "Many thanks for all your thoughts and greetings, but we are asking for no flowers and the likes right now." Yeah, what do you even write to the public after you lost your daughter in this way? And Mia's parents were not the only ones destroyed by this incident. The murder of Mia Stevn shook Denmark to its core. The country consistently ranks as one of the safest in the world, with very low violent crime rates. In 2021, the year before Mia's murder, there were only 39 homicides in the entire country, less than one per week. The brutality of the crime and the seemingly random nature of the attack left many feeling vulnerable. How could something like this happen in peaceful Aalborg? In the wake of the tragedy, a volunteer organization formed to advocate for improved safety measures, particularly for young people out at night. They pushed for expanded street surveillance cameras and better lighting in high-traffic nightlife areas. But perhaps the most important outcome has been increased awareness about personal safety. Mia's story serves as a stark reminder that danger can lurk even in the safest places. It's crucial to emphasize that Mia did nothing wrong. She was simply trying to get home after a night out with friends, and the fault lies entirely with her killer. Her dad, Elo, aptly said, "To die trying to live is better than to not live for fear of dying." Exactly. We can't live in fear and suspect everyone around us of evil intentions. Mia's death is not on Mia. However, there are lessons we can take away from this tragedy to better protect ourselves and each other. 1. Trust your instincts. If a situation feels wrong, listen to that inner voice. 2. Stay aware of your surroundings, especially when alone at night. 3. Have a plan for getting home safely before going out. 4. Use the buddy system. Travel in groups and look out for one another. 5. Be cautious about accepting rides from strangers, even in seemingly safe situations. 6. Let friends or family know your plans and check in when you get home. 7. If you see someone vulnerable who may need help, speak up or notify authorities. Mia Stevn was more than just a victim. She was a beloved daughter, sister, and friend. A dedicated nursing student with dreams of helping others. A young woman with her whole life ahead of her. In the years since her death, Mia's family has worked to keep her memory alive while advocating for improved safety measures. They've emphasized that while it's important to be aware of potential dangers, we shouldn't let fear rule our lives. The Mia Stevn Foundation was established to provide support and resources for victims of violent crime and their families. It also funds scholarships for nursing students, carrying on Mia's dream of caring for others. As we reflect on Mia's story, let it not serve as a source of fear, but as a call to action, to be more aware of our surroundings, to look out for one another, and to trust our instincts, and to work towards a world where everyone can feel safe walking home at night. Mia Stevn's life was cut tragically short, but through remembering her story and learning from it, we can help ensure her death was not in vain. Let us honor her memory by striving to create safer communities and showing more compassion to those around us. In doing so, we can hope to build a world where no more lives are lost to senseless violence, a world that Mia, with her caring heart and dreams of helping others, would have wanted to see. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. What are your thoughts on this horrific case? Do you know similar stories? Let me know in a comment, and before you go, like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. All right, catch you soon. Stay safe.